Well, hello there. Today I am going to tell you about my adventures in Thanksgiving. Now, we did not have a traditional Thanksgiving dinner today. Normally, that would greatly distress me, but my new medication makes me completely apathetic, so woohoo! Um, I've had one this year already, so I suppose I shouldn't really care. We did a traditional Thanksgiving dinner at our church, one of our churches, Grant Avenue Baptist, where we hosted it for poor people and people with disabilities and people who just did not have a family to visit for Thanksgiving. Some people contributed food, some people served the food, and my family, or most of us anyway, came and we sat and we visited with these people. There's a real nice lady named Betty who I've seen several years in a row now, and we met a new man named Mike. But today it was dinner with the family, and in this case, it was my in-laws. And several years ago, my mother-in-law decided that it was kind of a hassle to host it and or fix food for it or whatever. So we started going out or doing alternative plans. Uh, this year we went out to eat. We went to Applebee's. If you've never been to Applebee's on Thanksgiving, they have a different menu than usual. They said it's a limited menu, so I'm assuming that all of these items are on their normal menu. I got the blackened salmon, and it was very delicious. My husband and several members of his family all ordered chicken tenders. That's his standard order. If we go to a restaurant and he is delayed for some reason, I can almost always order chicken tenders for him, and he will be completely satisfied. Once in a while, though, he'll be like, "Oh man, I was really looking forward to having the sausage." Well, anyway, suffice to say, that all went fine. And our children picked their own foods, and our three youngest, they ordered off the kids' menu. And in this case, I'm going to tell you about Quentin. Quentin ordered a cheese pizza and French fries and a chocolate milk. Now, normally I would say, you don't need the French fries with a pizza. Get the broccoli or something a little, you know, less starchy. But we have a surplus of vegetables at the house because they've been on sale this week, and so we're eating copious amounts of cucumber and broccoli and celery and carrots and everything at home. So I figured, let him get what he wants. Now, the other two littles also got chocolate milks, and Genevieve got a pizza and broccoli, I believe, and Steele got a corn dog and then yogurt with sliced strawberries. And for reasons that are beyond my fathoming, even though we had had them give our children uh, waters to start out with, they decided that when they had the chocolate milks ordered, they were going to start bringing them out. And I was busy visiting with the relatives and catching up with my sister-in-law, and I did not notice just how much chocolate milk they were drinking. Uh, we do serve milk in our family, and I try to maintain the thoughts on it that it's a limit of 2 to 3 glasses per person per day, because I have read that you can't absorb more calcium than that anyway, and a lot of people tell me, oh, you don't absorb calcium out of cow's milk anyhow, so don't pay any attention to that, don't drink it. Well, I like milk. I always have. So we have it in the house. We drink it, we put it on our cereals, whatever. So he does drink milk, but we don't usually fix chocolate milk except on special occasions, and going out to eat is a special occasion. Well, they all downed their first bottle of chocolate milk. And then they started on second bottle of chocolate milk. And then their food came and they started eating it and they drank more chocolate milk. And at some point, we lost track of how many milks each child had drank. I think that they each had at least 3, and some of them had more. And Quinn definitely had 4 that I know of, because Ryan opened the lid on 3 of them for him, and I opened the lid on 1. And Blake could have, but he doesn't remember. One way or the other, he was more drinking his dinner than eating it. And again, normally would not stand for that baloney. But given that this was Thanksgiving and it's the time for great gluttony, bring it on, you know? Let's partake of the feast of the fountain of chocolate milk. Heck, now I wish I'd ordered chocolate milk. I just had water. But anyway, I can fix myself chocolate milk. We've got milk here. And chocolate syrup and probably some Nesquik, maybe even some Ovaltine. I have to go in there and see what I've got. I have this hot chocolatey stuff that's actually peanut flavored. It's called like, gosh, I don't know what it's called. I'll have to look. Anyway, you can fix it like hot chocolate, but we just mix it in with milk sometimes, and it's like drinking it's got chocolate and peanut butter in one jar, and then we've got another one that's just peanut flavored. Like I said, they're meant to be put into hot chocolate, but we use them just if we want to have something different instead of just plain chocolate milk. So anyway, he ate all of his french fries. And this was not a small portion of french fries. I've been places where if you are a child and you order a child's plate, you get such shrimpy little tiny burgers like that, and like 4 french fries that are tiny, and it goes nowhere. Yeah, I mean, you eat it and it's like you haven't eaten anything. At least my kids. I know, like my nieces and nephews on that side, they probably all 3 could split a child's plate and still be full, and the eldest is 16. But my kids, no. Even when Blake was a 6-month-old infant, he would eat 2 cups of baby food at a serving. I mean, not at a serving, obviously. That'd be more than one serving. At a sitting, that's what I was going for. Anyway, so, I gotta stop saying anyway. Anyway. I did it again! To continue. Well, he ate about 3/4 of his pizza. It was mostly just crust left. But we had like a little cup of marinara sauce sitting there, so I figured he could dip that in there and eat it like breadsticks. He had eaten all of his fries. And he's sitting there contentedly. Then he gets up, walks around the table, stands next to my husband, and says, "Hey, Dad, I think I'm throwing up." And it just, everywhere, just flowed out of him like a fire hose being turned on. It was not just, it was, and it kept coming and coming and coming. It's like, oh, how many meals are you going to throw up? Thankfully, I didn't think. I was hoping he just gagged on his pizza or something, but as time continued, I got thinking it was probably the milk. Too much milk. Sad thing to come out of my lips, because I would be hard pressed to drink too much milk. But, milk does curdle in your stomach. It is not, on most people, it doesn't progress through them that quickly. I suppose it might be a different process for someone who's lactose intolerant. None of my bunch is. I am not sure, but I think it's probably worse. That it comes out both ends, I suppose. Anyway, I did it again! I shall give you a little background information, or at least a side story that you may find amusing. When I was in high school, there was a group of boys in the school who thought that they were the cool guys. And some of them were pretty cool, I guess. Some of them had been in my circle, some of them had not been in my circle. They ranged throughout the high school age group. They would sometimes take in eighth graders towards the end of the year to form this little club. And it wasn't an official club, but everybody knew them as the posse. And they were called the posse because even though they were who most of us consider to be some of the cooler guys, as opposed to like the nerd crowd or the doofus crowd, the farm kids weren't in it, I suppose. Anyway, or maybe they were. I don't know the home lives of some of those kids. I said it again. I didn't even realize it. I could just stop that. Just stop. So, to join the posse, you had to have two qualifications. Well, three, because I suppose you had to be a boy, but that might be changed now. I'd have to look into it. It was in Iowa, and they're very um, progressive there, I believe, is the correct term today. Anyhow, I got anyhow instead of anyway, so I beat the system. Aren't I cool? So you had to be a guy, but you also had to be a single guy. If you got a girlfriend, you were kicked out of the posse because the whole point of the posse is that they were hunting for women. And you also had to perform an initiation test. And there was one boy who would join the posse, be in it for a very limited amount of time, get a girlfriend, be dropped from the posse, break up with his girlfriend, rejoin the posse, and have to do another initiation test. Now, I had seen all sorts of initiations or heard about them. One that I personally witnessed was a boy named Matt who had to cross-dress and wear a wig and wear high heels and run in the school track meet as Matilda. And for some odd reason, the school did not care. And this was not in today's society where there was a gender fluid issue that people were thinking, oh, maybe he is Matilda. No, you don't turn from Matt, a 16-year-old boy looking for a chick, to Matilda, the 80-year-old granny running down the street in your big old clodhopper high heels. I don't even know where he got those shoes. I never thought to ask. Did his toes stick out the end? I know they were open-ended. Mind blown. So, that one I witnessed. I heard about many others. Somebody had to swim across the lake called Big G, buck naked. And while he was swimming across, they took his clothes and put them up on top of a dam, and the kid, instead of hopping out and running around the edge and grabbing his clothes like they expected him to, where they had prepared cameras and things, I guess. No, or the story I heard, I didn't see any of this, so maybe it didn't even happen. Maybe it was just one of those, urban legends that are like, hey, let's see what those weirdos will believe in the school. Let's make something up. He shimmied up the side of the dam, army style, grabbed his clothes, put them on, and he was in. Well, to come back to the Barfarama story, one of the young men who was joining the posse came to me one day and was complaining, saying, or he didn't come to me, we were in science class together. Anyway, he was talking about how he was worried that he wouldn't pass the initiation because he had tried to pass the initiation and he hadn't been able to, and this was his last try. And the initiation in this case was he had to drink an entire gallon of milk and hold it down for 10 minutes. And so I suggested that he try, taking some Lactaid first and see whether that helped. And he came back to me a few days later and said, it worked. I took the Lactaid and then I drank the gallon of milk and I held it in for 10 and a half minutes before I blew chunks everywhere. So, given that it will make a teenage boy, essentially a grown man, blow chunks to chug a full gallon of white milk, I'm assuming that 4 or more 8-ounce bottles of chocolate milk, plus a pizza, or most of a pizza, and a whole bunch of french fries in a 5-year-old stomach is probably going to have the same effect. Well, when Quinn started throwing up, Ryan grabbed him and spun him around so that he wouldn't be throwing up on our table, because some of us were still eating. Steele stands up in his chair at this restaurant. Keep in mind, we were in the back corner. Nobody had to know about this, except, the servers and cleanup crew and ourselves. Steele stands up. He's 6. Stands up on his chair, and he says in a loud voice that carries through the entire restaurant because he does not have an indoor voice. He only has loud and extra loud. And he said in his extra loud voice, "He's throwing up! He's throwing up everywhere!" And Genevieve, who is 4, jumped up out of her seat and ran around so she could watch. Whoa! I guess she takes after my sister, because that would have been her bag, watching some sort of horrific thing play out like that. So she comes over and she's watching him, and he turns to look at her, and he throws up all over down by her feet, and she starts yelling at the top of her lungs, he threw up on my shoes. My outfit is ruined. He ruined my outfit. It's all over my shoes. What do I do? What do I do? We need to go home and change my shoes. I need them to match my outfit, and they're covered in throw up. Oh, my goodness. And then, at that point, my mother-in-law jumps up and starts trying to clean it up. But there's no cleaning this up. It is everywhere. It must have covered, 9-10 square feet of floor. The entire back corner of that restaurant was indisposed. And they brought us some stuff to put on it that was supposed to dry it up so they could sweep it up. Well, mother-in-law didn't want to wait that long. So after Ryan sprinkled it on the throw-up, she decided to continue to try to clean it up, which just smeared it more, for the most part. And then the guy who was our waiter and saw what she was doing comes running over and says, "Oh, you said you want to take a picture. Let's do that now." And he moves the table over to block her from getting through the throw-up and has us all pose for a picture. And I suggested that we put Quinn right in the middle of the picture, and then we all stand around him, all going, "Oh!" like we don't want to be near him. But nobody would do it. Anyway, we left the restaurant. Everyone looked at us as we left the restaurant. Ryan was surprised they weren't doing a quiet clap or something, but they did not. And Quinn has not been sick since, so I guess it was the binging of the chocolate milk. Oh, and one extra tidbit. Being that this is Thanksgiving, I was also dressed as a Native American because I am 1% Native American, and I like excuses to, according to Ancestry and 23andMe and my heritage and Family Tree DNA, they all say that I'm Native American. They disagree on which part of the country my Native American heritage comes from, but they all say it, so I believe it rather than it just being noise. I think I actually found the ancestor once, but I don't remember her name, and I have traced our ancestry back on so many different branches that it would probably take me hours to track her down. Um, but I wasn't sure whether I even believed it when I first recorded it down, because it was one of those, oh, he married an Indian princess thing. But depending on the tribe, a Native American princess, could have been just one of, several dozen children of the chief. They wouldn't necessarily be raised as a princess. Just because you are the daughter of the chief does not make you a fancy pants royal. I mean, it should, but in some of the cultures, they were, the king would have, or the king, the depending on the tribe, sometimes uh, the chief would take a wife from each family, and after she would bear him a child, she would go back to her people. Like Pocahontas, for example, her tribe was like that. She was one of several children of the chief, and her mother had gone back to her people and had left her there to be raised by the chief and whoever his attendants were. So there I am in my Native American handmade. Oh, I've got it right here. Let me show you. I made it as a costume, but I try to wear it as often as I can. See, I made it out of fabric that I thought might look like deerskin, and then at the base, I put some beads on tassels. It really does look adorable. I am going to put some beads, like smaller ones, like maybe embroidered on here so that it, is like the shape of an eagle or something, but I haven't quite decided yet what I want to do. I want to find out more about which tribe it's from so I can use culturally appropriate beading. After we got done there, we went back to the in-laws and visited for a little bit, and then we packed up, dropped the kids at the house, and Ryan and I hit Black Friday at Walmart, which wasn't nearly as bad as it was a couple of years ago. I'm assuming because they didn't have as many deals as we experienced before, or maybe they had the deals, but they were closer to the front, so the people just ran in, grabbed their big screen TV, and then ran out. We weren't after that stuff. We were after like cheapy videos and pajamas and such. So, happy Thanksgiving. Welcome to the Christmas season, or Hanukkah, or Kwanzaa, or whatever you celebrate this time of year. We celebrate Christmas, and we do celebrate it as the religious Christmas. We celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. Our kids do observe the Santa Claus tradition, but they have also been taught all about Saint Nicholas and various other Santa myths from around the world, which I suppose I should cover in another video because it's a lot of fun. It's a really interesting study. More on this later, but I believe that this has been an extremely long broadcast, so I'm going to cut it off today. Thank you. Goodbye.